Today, we're going to get into the incredible story of how India's stock market went from being a total Wild West to one of the most regulated systems out there. And really, it all comes down to one crucial organization, SEBI.
But let's just start with a really simple question. When you put your hard-earned money into stocks, who is actually looking out for you? Who's making sure the game isn't rigged? Well, the answer is the hero of our story today.
All right, let's get into it. To really get why SEBI is so important, we have to go back in time, back to an era when the Indian capital market was, well, to put it mildly, a complete free-for-all. Now, you might look at this and think, hey, there were plenty of laws before 1992. And you're right, we had the Capital Issues Act, the Companies Act, and a few others. But here's the catch. All this legislation was scattered across different laws. It was fragmented, and that made it incredibly difficult to enforce. It was basically a patchwork system trying to manage a rapidly growing market.
And that fragmented system, well, it led to a market that was just plagued with problems. We're talking about rampant price manipulation, backdoor deals, and insider trading happening all over the place. And here's the real kicker. There was no proper prosecuting machinery to actually punish anyone. So for the average investor, it was an incredibly risky environment with almost no protection. The market was practically screaming for a unified, powerful regulator. And so, in response, the government decided it was time to create a brand new watchdog, one that could finally bring some order to all that chaos.
And here it is, the big moment. Now, SEBI was first set up in 1988, but back then it was kind of a toothless tiger. The key date, the one that changed everything, is January 30th, 1992. This is when the SEBI Act was passed, giving the organization full statutory powers and making it an autonomous body. The watchdog finally got its bite.
So, what was its purpose? Well, the preamble to the SEBI Act lays it out perfectly. The mission wasn't just to police the market. It was actually to do three things at once: protect investors, help the market grow, and regulate it effectively. Let's break that down, because this threefold mission is really the DNA of SEBI. First, and most important, protect the small investor. Second, make sure the market itself can grow and mature in a healthy way. And third, create and enforce the rules of the game. You see, these three goals are completely interconnected, and they drive absolutely everything SEBI does. Okay, so how does SEBI actually pull this off? Well, the SEBI Act gave it a whole arsenal of specific powers. Let's take a quick look at some of the most important ones. First up, one of the most famous market crimes, insider trading. SEBI was given the explicit power to ban it. This levels the playing field so people with secret info can't unfairly profit from it. Simple as that. Next, it regulates how company takeovers happen. This is huge because it makes sure that when one company tries to buy another, the process is fair, it's transparent, and it doesn't end up hurting the existing shareholders. And SEBI's role isn't just about punishment, not at all. A huge part of its job is actually proactive, educating investors. By promoting training and awareness, it helps people like you and me make smarter decisions and protect ourselves. And finally, SEBI basically holds the leash on all the key players in the market. We're talking brokers, merchant bankers, mutual funds, you name it. If you're an intermediary in the securities market, you've got to register with SEBI and you have to play by their rules. Now, to get to the bottom of any shady dealings, the SEBI Act gives it the same powers as a civil court. And think about what that means. It means SEBI can legally summon people for questioning under oath, demand that they hand over documents, and inspect the books of any company it suspects of wrongdoing. This is a massive amount of power. So we've seen what SEBI is and what it can do. But let's bring this all back to the real world. Why does this watchdog truly matter? For the economy and for every single one of us who invests. This slide right here really puts it all into perspective. The before and after picture is just stark. The market went from a high-risk gamble with rock-bottom investor confidence to a place with unified rules, strong protection, and orderly growth. And that increase in trust, that's the secret sauce that encourages investment, both from within India and from abroad, which in turn fuels the entire economy. One of SEBI's most powerful tools is something called disgorgement. Now, it's a bit of a fancy word, but the concept is brilliant and simple. If you break the rules and make illegal profits, let's say from insider trading, SEBI can force you to give back every single rupee you made. It's not a fine, it's them literally taking away your ill-gotten gains.
So, where does all that money go? It doesn't just disappear into some government account. No, it gets credited to something called the Investor Protection and Education Fund. And that money is then used for, you guessed it, protecting and educating investors. So the money taken from the rule breakers is used directly to help the very people they tried to harm. It's a perfect circle.
From the Wild West to a well-regulated system, the story of SEBI is just an incredible transformation. But of course, the work is never done. With new technologies, crypto, high-frequency trading, the market is evolving at lightning speed. And that leaves us with a final thought. What is the next big challenge for India's market watchdog, and how will it adapt to protect the next generation of investors?